Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Well, good Doc. Good
Good
evening.
evening. I'm fine. How about you?
Good evening, Doc.
Good evening. So we started a little bit late tonight, but we are going to get ahead here shortly. Tonight's topic, a very interesting one. Cybersecurity network governance engineer, right? An unusual job title in the cybersecurity space, but we are going to jump more into this in terms of the interviews. Now, this is the role that Matthew has landed, and we spoke about this 2 weeks ago. My Matthew gave some insights into some of the processes and how his whole journey went. Tonight we are going to be discussing the interview questions. We're supposed to do that last week, but we were off last week, so we are jumping in and we are going to go ahead and discuss it tonight. Matthew will be joining us a little bit later, but it's going to be an open forum discussion, and we are going to go through and break down all the tips and tricks in answering these interview questions. And uh, because Matthew got the job, it means he scored really well on the interview process. So at least we're gonna have him also give his take on how he answers some of these questions. And we have other folks who've been uh, Eretmis family members who have been working for a while and have gone through the whole entire process of interviews and acquiring jobs. So they're also here to give their insight as well. So without wasting much time, we are jumping in. Everybody's welcome. Kindly put where you're joining us from in the chat, and we'll give you some shout out as we are moving along. And then also you can put hashtag Team Live in the chat as well if you're looking to renew any certification. We will talk more about that. Now, for folks who are pretty new, and this is your first time of joining us, Dr. Emmanuel Edu, former United States Army captain, the CEO of Eretmis Inc., a cybersecurity consulting firm. We are also a PCI QSA company based in New York, and also the founder of Eretmis Academy, Cybersecurity Institute based out of New York. I'm a member of the Forbes Technology Council, and also a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC as well. And you are very much welcome. We do this every Friday night. So if you are looking to grow in the security space, cybersecurity space, information security space, we encourage you to join us every Friday night. And you are going to learn something new every Friday night. You're always going to get something new for your toolbox. We can promise you that. Now, Eretmis Academy, we are partners with CompTIA. We are authorized partners, and what that means is that we have 20% discount on all vouchers from CompTIA, right? It doesn't extend to the other certification bodies. CompTIA, they are the only ones running partnership program for now. So if you're looking to sit for any CompTIA certification, you reach out to us. We show you how you'll be able to get the 20% discount. And then also for everyone who have, if you have any certification and you are looking to renew in the very near future, just put hashtag Team Live, take a screenshot of that, and you can use that to renew your certification without resitting for the exam. So two ways to renew your certification. You can resit for the exam, or you can you can prove or show that you've been continuously improving yourself as a security professional, and you'll be able to use that. And an example of that, if you attend cyber chats and you take screenshot of hashtag Team Live, each 45 minutes counts as one CEU or CPE, regardless of how any certification body that you've written will call it, is continuing educational points. So to get that, just follow simple instructions, put hashtag Team Live and take a screenshot of it. You'll be able to use it. Now for Eretmis Cyber Chat, we have a WhatsApp group. The link will be posted, so you'll be able to join this WhatsApp group. That way you don't miss any cybersecurity information that we are putting out there. And then also, especially when it comes to cyber chat, you're not going to miss any of those. All the links are posted on these WhatsApp groups. So we have the general WhatsApp group, and then we have one specifically for cyber chats also as well. And then our YouTube channel, everything that we are doing is being transmitted live on YouTube. So you can watch us live on YouTube, and we encourage you to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you don't also miss any of the cyber chats. So once we are done, we are transmitting live. So the live session will be on YouTube before we post the actual video. So you'll be able to have access to that as well. Now, tonight's topic, like we always do, we'll start with cyber news, and then we'll jump into how to answer the interview questions of Matthew, right? And that is where we are going to get some. Matthew actually did 4 rounds, so it's going to be a pretty interesting discussion tonight. Now we'll start with cyber news. So guess who is in the news? Accenture is in the news. This is one of the biggest, if you don't know them, they are one of the biggest players in the cybersecurity space, and they are looking to do maybe, probably, arguably, or the biggest cybersecurity acquisition. I think there's been one, but this is going to trump that. So this is going to be like the biggest acquisition. So they are in talks with an Australian cybersecurity firm called CyberCX, and the acquisition is around 650 million USD, which is like about 1 billion Australian dollars, right? So this is the biggest. If this goes through, it's going to be the biggest up to date. And this is a cybersecurity company, a huge one, trying to acquire this one. So it is going to be good for the cybersecurity folks, and then also for cybersecurity industry in general, right? And the defense of our cyberspace is going to get better. So there's something that we are looking out for, or waiting to see if it is going to go through. But I think as they are putting it out there, they are very close to make this happen, right? And next in the news, we have CISA and NIST, right? So, but we have only NIST picture on here. So CISA is not the certification CISA, right? CISA as an organization is the United States Infrastructure Security Agency. They play a very key role in everything that we do in cybersecurity in the United States. And they work hand in hand with other agencies like NIST, right? Everybody knows NIST. Mostly, if you ask people what frameworks are you familiar with, the first thing they'll say is NIST. NIST is not a framework. NIST is an organization that comes up with a lot of these frameworks. So if you want to talk about a framework, you have to be, if it's a NIST, it falls under the NIST catalog of frameworks, you have to be specific, right? Like NIST 800-53, 800-30, 800-37, right? So NIST cybersecurity framework, if you just say NIST, NIST is not a framework, it's an organization, right? So these two agencies, like they always do, they are coming up with standards, and they are pushing the agenda of taking asset inventory or inventories very seriously, right? Like I always say, and for folks who've been following Eretmis for a while and cyber chats, the first thing, one of our pet peeves, the first thing is everything starts with governance. The next thing is you can't protect what you don't know you have, right? So if you are not aware you have this number of maybe vehicles, how are you going to protect them? Or if you don't know you have this number of shoes, right? If one gets lost, how would you know, right? So in your organization, very first thing, that an organization should do when it comes to cybersecurity, aside governance, inventory of your assets, right? All of it. So your hardware, your virtual assets, your software assets, your hardware assets, all of it, right? And then we also move into even for your human assets, right? So the people who are working for you, you also have to take an inventory of them and know these are, and for that, mostly what helps us to do that is the assets control review that we do on a regular basis. So if you don't have the list of your human inventory, then how do you do assets? How do you do assets review, right? But aside that, the very main thing that we have to focus more on is you can't protect what you don't you can't protect what you don't know you have, right? So that is the bottom line for what CISA and NIST is pushing for. Now, this is cybersecurity 101 that we always have to reinforce, because the inventory, if you do audits a lot, like we do for our PCI audits, if you get the inventory lists for some of these companies, the assets inventory list for some of these companies is, there's always a big question mark. It means they are not taking it seriously, right? But they want to take all other aspects of cybersecurity seriously, like, getting the up-to-date latest, AI firewall and all the fancy stuff. But all that is good. But that is of no use if you don't even know the assets you have, right? So now next, they've come up with CISA is pushing the agenda for taking inventory of your assets. NIST is also pushing the same, but NIST also has come up with or they finalized a new framework that they're coming up with, or best practice on the lines of cryptographic algorithms design, right? And NIST, they are always working on something. So if you've not subscribed to NIST, their newsletters, I highly encourage everybody to do so. If you go to their website, you can subscribe to that. That way, anything they are working on, any updates, any new updates to NIST frameworks, you'll be able to get that as well, right? So with that out of the way, we are going to jump into our discussion tonight. But before we do, Climb is one of our financing partners. So if you're looking to join any of our programs, and you are looking for a financing option, Climb, you can finance through Climb. They have very affordable and easy way. They approve almost everybody. So it's an option that you can look at, right? Now we'll go through some of their catalogs. So for folks looking to get ahead when it comes to the AI space, as security professionals, now AI has been tagged along what we do. So our AI governance program is what is going to train you and make you ready to take on the challenge as a security professional working in this space as well. Now, this is a whole field on its own, but gradually it is going to be merged with the security space, with the cybersecurity roles. So AI governance, look into this. All our programs, they come with internship as well. So not just the training, but this is really going to make you an expert when it comes to AI governance. So we take you through the basics and fundamentals of AI, what makes AI work and how AI is trained and all that, the different types of, training models and algorithms. And then we'll move you into how you are going to protect AI by looking at it from the GRC space and beyond, right? So it's a very interesting course, and you are going to learn a lot, and you are going to be among the pace setters when it comes to the AI governance space. Now, our cloud security, also another option for, and this is not nice to have anymore, is a must-have for all security professionals. For everything that you are doing, you should be able to also move in the cloud. Now, this program also very hands-on, very, very hands-on from the beginning to the end. We take you through some of the concepts, the strategies in the cloud space, but it goes beyond that, and it's vendor neutral as well. So we take you through AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and once you're done, you can sit for any of these cloud security certifications out there. And the hands-on, you are going to work in all these different environments, working on projects that is going to make you top-notch cloud security professional, right? And then we have our entry-level, almighty entry-level. So for folks who are looking to break into the security space, this is the program that is not that is going to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you can start working effectively as a security professional. Now, this is going to set your foundation for everything that you are ever going to do in the security space, right? And it is not just a foundational course or an introductory course. It's broken down into three main portions. But high level overview is two main parts. The first part is the online portion where you go through the training. You go through hands-on work with different tools, different cybersecurity tools. We take you behind the scenes, and you are going to build your own cybersecurity lab. And then the second portion is the GRC internship and workshop. That is where you actually get to work on different cybersecurity projects for two of our sister companies. So if you're looking to break into the security space, this is the path for you. The first portion gives you a very strong foundation, so you can branch off into all different areas and hold different job titles in the security space. And then you can move forward from there to specialize in other areas as well, right? So for folks already in the IT space or in the cybersecurity space, if you're also looking to specialize in a niche in the cybersecurity space, we encourage you to look at our payment security program. So payment security, this is the biggest, one of our strong niches in a consulting firm, Eretmis Inc. We are a QSA company, so we do this for a living. And if we tell you this is arguably one of the lucrative spaces, yes, we know what we are talking about. This is out of all the courses that we put out there, or out of all the courses that we teach, students from PCI, they are the only ones who are holding 250 plus or 200 thereabout, for a one job. Other job like the entry level and others, we have students making the same amount of money, but they are doing two jobs, right? So PCI specialty is one of the most lucrative, because one of the areas that you can get for just one role, you can be making upwards of 200K and more, right? So if you're looking to specialize in this space, now if you're totally new in the cybersecurity space, we encourage you to go through the entry level course, even if you want to do PCI before you jump into PCI. We are not going to admit you into PCI if you're totally new, right? And we can talk more on the side about that. But if you're already in the security space or you've been in IT for a while, yes, we will walk you through how you'll be able to get into the PCI space. Now, for folks also who've gone through RMF training, different types of training, and you are looking to, you lack the hands-on, you've not worked on any projects, you can talk your way through and get a job, but eventually it's going to catch up with you, because nobody's going to hire you to train you on how to do your job. They will train you on how to use tools. They will train you on, orient you to what they do in their environment, but they're not going to train you on how to conduct risk assessment, on how to review policies, on how to conduct tabletop incident response, tabletop exercises, right? So going into the security space, if you have a degree already, you've taken some training, we encourage you to get into the GRC internship and workshop. Now, this is where you're going to roll your sleeves and, jump in and start, doing stuff manually to see how projects are done in the security space. And you are doing this for two of our sister companies, ADDI and Diasrecker, right? So, and we walk you through, guide you through, show you how the projects are done. You work in teams, so you're also going to learn or acquire a lot of soft skills. So I think we talked about our group, WhatsApp group already. The link is going to be posted for our Cyber Chat group, and then also for our YouTube channel. We encourage you to subscribe. Now, last 2 weeks, we were looking at how Matthew moved from non-IT background to 150K cybersecurity role. And he even, also made another confession that I think that Friday he had gotten another offer. So he has two now, but this is the first one that he got. So this is the discussion that we had. Now, tonight, we are going to look at the interview that he went to. We are going to review the questions. And then, so it's an open forum. We will open the floor and have your take on some of these questions. And then when Matthew joins us, he'll be able to also, walk us through how he approached some of these questions. So it's a very good learning experience and process for us tonight. So kindly sit tight. We are going to run through this. Now, for the interview that Matthew went to, he did 4 rounds, right? Now, this is nothing new in the cybersecurity space. Mostly you are going to do 3 rounds or 3 interviews. So these are on different occasions, different sessions. So if you go to the first round and you pass, they move you to. So the first round really mostly is with a recruiter. They just want to do have a feel of what you're about and what you can do. So it's not a full-blown interview round. But we still add that to it. So because when they reach out or if they send an email that, hey, we want to talk to you, your very first one is going to be just to screen you to see what you are all about. Now, the second and the third and the fourth, those are the three main that everybody is going to go through, right? So once almost, let's say 100 people applied for this and they called 10, for the first round, almost everybody will go through, almost, right? The second round, maybe 5 out of the 10. For the third round, maybe 3 or 4 out of, and then, mostly for the final round, it will be left with probably like two, right? Depending on how many people got on, were shortlisted from the beginning. Now, the first round was the technical screening. The second was the governance and compliance interview. The next one was the stakeholder and workflow optimization. And then the last one was the leadership or panel interview, right? So the last one was the soft skills. The last round was the soft skills. Now, sometimes they can have the third round as a soft skills, or they can have the first round. It really depends, but you are going to go through the three, right? So you go through one technical interview, one soft skills, and then sometimes the third, or it can be a mixture of that. The last one will be a mixture of soft skills and technical, right? And then sometimes you can go to a soft skills interview and they'll switch it up on you and say, hey, they'll just keep bombarding you with technical questions. But you cannot say, hey, I'm only here for the soft skills interview. So what are you guys doing? You are there to interview. So whether it's soft skills or technical, you should be able to speak to it. Now, when we talk about technical, it's not the, technical as technical. If you're in the GRC space, in quotes, you are not doing coding and the traditionally what we will classify a technical, but still there's a lot of technical stuff that you're still going to be doing in the GRC space, right? So without wasting much time, we are going to jump into round one. So, and we also privileged to have, who was part of the round and who did the interview. So the round one, the technical screening was done by the recruiter and the network security engineer, right? So these are the two folks who did the round. Now, these are the questions. So we are going to go through these questions. So for technical screening round one, the focus was on firewall rules, firewall rule analysis, network security fundamentals, tools, your expertise in tools. Now, these are some of the sample questions. This is the best that we could get out of Matthew, right? That I think he wrote some down. So this is almost everything. Now, the first one is the first question: explain your experience with Palo Alto or similar firewall technologies, right? How do you audit or optimize rule sets? So, we're talking about technical, although you are not doing coding or none of that. This is network 101, right? Basics and fundamentals in networking. Now, if you've never used Palo Alto, that is not the issue. That is why they're asking you your experience with Palo Alto or similar firewall technologies, right? So, and that is why we emphasize on at least working on some projects, getting your hands dirty, working with some tools. So, for example, like the entry level, when you go through the training, the next hurdle is your the hands-on where you're actually going to work with tools, and we walk you through how to set up firewalls and others like that, rule sets, access control lists. You are going to be exposed to all of that, and then we move you into the internship where you work on projects. Right now, if you have this question, we are going to open the floor and maybe take one or two folks. How are you going to go about it? And for each single question, what I want everybody to look at is all the questions. They are asking you the question for a reason. They have an underlying goal for asking you that question. Now we know the overall goal or the focus here is testing your knowledge of firewalls, uh, access control list or rule sets, your network security fundamentals. So That is the main focus. Now, for every single question that they ask you, they have an objective or they have a grading rubric for it, right? So the next one is to describe a time you identified a misconfiguration, firewall rule that posed security risks. What was your approach to resolving this? The next one is how do you validate that a firewall rule change aligns with internal policies and standards? The fourth one was your process of ensuring network segmentation aligns with compliance frameworks like NIST, ISO 2701. And then the last one, can you walk us through your methodology for pre and post change policy reviews? Right now, if you're not very familiar with any of the stuff on here and you've gone through some cybersecurity training, you should maybe go back and revise your notes or, look into polishing up more because for everything that is on here, if you've gone through a training that is worth your time and energy, at least you should have an idea and you should be able to answer almost all questions on here. Yes, you might not know Palo Alto. That is fine. But at least you have some basic understanding of firewalls, the different types of firewalls, how they work, because they are shooting for firewall technologies that are out there. Right. So let's tackle the first one. Explain your experience with, I will not even talk about Palo Alto, but firewall technologies. Right. What are they really looking for? Just maybe one or two folks, and then we move on because we have a lot of questions to cover. Any takers on this? You can raise your virtual hand. I know some folks on here that I want to call out.
Can I say this?
Yes, go ahead. But please make sure you raise your virtual hand. That way we're not talking over everybody.
Okay. So firewall is your allowing how you allow or block the outsiders from coming into your data space. So it's your protection against penetration. So when you have like a website where you allow people to access your website, you've made it easy for everybody to come through. So in order for you to not get taken advantage of, you put it in a DMZ zone, a DMZ frame, so that anybody that comes through, you'll be vetted first to make sure that they are secured. That's my take on it.
Okay, Andy. So I think you're a little bit all over the place because DMZ doesn't even come in here, right? So first, for every question, before you tackle it, ask yourself, like, what are they? Look at it as a trick question. Like, what do they really want to get out of this? Now, for this, it's not necessarily a trick question. They just want to know your one, not the definition of what a firewall is, obviously. Uh, they want to know your experience. How have you worked with firewalls in the past? Right. So maybe your exposure to this type of firewall, that type of firewall, and especially when it comes to firewalls, if you've worked with firewalls, like what are some of the main things or very important things that we are looking at, right?
Okay.
And Andy, you mentioned some of it. The main goal is to help filter the traffic coming in, right? How do you do the filtering? What are some of the techniques? What are some of the things that we can do to do the filtering? That will lead you into the different types of firewall, right? Stateful firewalls, stateless firewalls, right? So those spaces, and that is what we are looking at. If it's a stateful firewall, if it's a stateless firewall, new generation firewall, what type of technologies or techniques or strategies do we use to do the filtering? Because overall, that is what firewall is going to do. I think there was a hand up. but the hand went down. Anybody else want to give it a shot? I think I gave some of the almost all the whole answer out, right? But if somebody want to polish it up into their own, we will take that
I
and then
want,
next question.
it's me. I just want to add something about firewall, but it's okay.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I just want to add something because she say he fight against. I just want to add his fight. It has a bridge. He protect your server, and he work against the malware. Every
Okay.
malware he try to attack your internet or your server, he fight against that.
Okay. So yes, but for the intent of this question, uh, if you go with definitions of and telling them what firewall can do, you've just shot yourself all over in the foot, right? How have you used the firewall, or what is your experience with the firewall? So even if you've never used the firewall and you want to talk about what you know about the firewall, it shouldn't be definitions. It shouldn't be what it can do and not cannot do. If you just go in purely based on what you know and you've never done anything with firewalls, you should know enough, right? So if your knowledge in this space is very limited, and the example is what I gave you, the different types of firewalls, right? So we have different brands, but the brands that doesn't change the types, right? So it's like if you take a vehicle, it's either like a manual vehicle or automatic. It doesn't matter if it's a Mercedes, if it's a Ford, if it's they are just do these two types, these two main types, right? So it's a manual transmission or it's an automatic transmission. For firewalls, we have different types like that. So stateless, stateful. Anybody familiar with? For all folks who've gone through entry level, you should know this. Unless, of course, you didn't pay attention to your networking class, right? Stateless, stateful, new generation firewalls, and other types of firewalls. And then also, when we talk about firewalls, you cannot talk about firewalls without bringing in your access control list. And then even for your stateless firewalls, how do we also, so firewalls with no access control list, how do we program them to be able to catch or filter traffic as we want it to do? Right. I think I saw Michael no, not even Michael. Abraham went through entry level. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Abraham, what is your take on just what you've done in entry level on firewalls? And this is just randomly putting Abraham on the spot.
Yes, I would say that firewall basically filters traffic. Though it depends on the policy uh, of the organization in terms of which traffic to allow or disallow. So based on that, you can set the rule to allow or disallow a particular traffic. For instance, FTP on port 21, you can disallow it. You can disallow that. So I think I will say that for now.
Okay. Okay. Now, and I think Abraham kind of did justice to why I, just randomly just called him out, but he was able to actually speak, to this. And I'll give him about probably 60% for this specific question. Now, and that is, he didn't prepare for this. I just put him on the spot, but at least it goes to show his level of understanding when it comes to firewall technologies, right? Now, we are going to move forward. We're going to have Matthew, tell us exactly how he answered this, but how you go about answering it, there's no one way, right? So because there's no one way, you should know what is the end goal. What are they looking for exactly? So they are looking for you to be able to tell them at least the different types of the different types of firewalls. So always come from a point of knowledge. These are the different types. And for these types, this is how this is the strategy we use, ACLs, or we program them to be able to. And this is way before AI became a buzzword. For your stateless, stateful firewalls, we also use AI to help filter. So we give it signatures. So some types of firewalls are able to discern on their own to identify, no, this type of traffic is bad, so we are not going to allow it. Unlike the other type that just has, access control list. So the list we give it is what it is going to use, and then we can also go into your allow list and deny list, which used to be called your white list and your blacklist, right? So if you don't really have the hands-on even when it comes to firewalls, but you are coming from a point of really good understanding and the basics and fundamentals of firewalls, I think you'll be able to score at least a 70 to 80 on this one, right? Now, I think there was a hand up. If the hand is down, then we are going to move on to the next question. Now, the next question, describe a time you identified a misconfigured firewall rule that posed a security risk. Now, what is the goal of this specific question? Like, what are they trying to get at? Ian, please go ahead. Ian.
Attention to detail. Okay.
Yeah, attention to detail. One. Anybody else?
The ability to essentially correct misconfigured firewalls. But like basically the idea that you're familiar with the how to configure the rule for a firewall.
Okay. Yes. So that is a good point, Ian. But to add to that, I think there are some hands. Okay, George, please go ahead.
They want to know your experience with a firewall. If you have a hands-on on a firewall.
Okay. So for this one, pay attention here. Describe a time. So all this is just, so if they say describe a time you identified, one, they want you to put your answer in the STAR method, right? So your answer should be situation, task, action, results. And for anyone who is new to this, kindly put this in your toolbox. That is how you answer interview questions, especially cybersecurity interview questions. If they tell you describe a time, describe a situation, it's not just describing the situation, but yes, you describe the situation, or you describe the situation, and then you also talk about the task that you were supposed to execute, and the action you took, and the results that came out of that action. Right. So here, forget about describe a time. You take all that part out. So you identify the firewall, a misconfigured firewall rule. Now we want to see what they are looking for. Okay, I think I'll give Morris the chance. Go ahead, Morris, to give his take on this before I go ahead.
Yeah, I want to describe a time of identifying the most misconfigured firewall. They're trying to understand your concept of what are service ports in the firewalls that are pose security risk to the environment, and also the application that have access, looking at what are the general access or any rules that have been configured. If you have experienced that, like any rule to the business critical applications, how do you remediate that? Or probably if you have experience with that, especially on the service ports, like FTP and also on port 80, that is that post risk.
Okay. Great. And I think you touch on some of the things that I'm going to talk about here. Now, what they are looking for is, one, do you understand firewall rules or rule sets? Two, if you understand that well, then what are misconfigurations when it comes to firewalls, right? How what in a firewall will constitute misconfiguration. So if you understand what misconfigurations in firewalls are, and you understand how ACL, access control list, works, that is all that they are looking for. So, but they are not going to ask you what is a misconfiguration when it comes to firewalls, or what is your understanding of ACLs, or what is your understanding of firewall rule sets. So they want it in a situation or in a scenario form. Have you encountered that before? Or, so let's say you've been working in this space, network security space for a while, but maybe for some reason you are very lucky, you've never encountered a misconfigured firewall before. How do you still go about answering this? You have to know exactly what they are looking for. They want to know your understanding of firewall rules or rule sets, and which one will be considered to be secured, which one will be considered to be not secure, right? So if it is misconfigured, then it means it is not secured. If it is configured right, then it means it is secured. So secured firewall configuration, non-secured firewall configurations are what we are talking about here, right? So hopefully, once you understand it to this level, then answering it becomes a little bit easier, right? So you know exactly what you are talking about, right? And as we are doing this to help break down and help you kind of break down questions that you've been asked during interviews, right? So this, as soon as they ask you this, your mind should go straight into, okay, this is what they are trying to catch out of this, right? So I'm going to throw it to everyone. You can raise your virtual hand. When we say a firewall is configured securely, what are some of the things that will constitute a securely configured firewall? What will constitute, not securely configured firewall? What makes a firewall? What will give that firewall a tag misconfigured? Two people, and then we're going to move forward. George, please go ahead.
Blocking all inbound traffic by default.
Okay. And what concept is that? Yeah, so that is secured or not secured. Forget about the concept for now. We will talk about the concept, so because when it comes to firewall configuration, it is also backed by cybersecurity architecture and design concepts like defense in depth, principle of least privilege, and others, right? So, yes, George said we are blocking all traffic coming in by default, right? Okay, anybody else? Andy, please go ahead.
Being able to determine the source of IP.
So much, right? Limit yourself to the real job of a firewall. Firewall is okay. So let me maybe break it down even further. Maybe grandpa style. So what a firewall is doing is simply this. A firewall is like the guy or the bouncer at the club or at the party, or so if there is somebody at the gate to wherever you are going, if it's a party, that person is serving kind of as a firewall, right? And how are they doing that? They are supposed to regulate the traffic coming into the party and the traffic going outside the party. So mostly if you go to a wedding, a reception or like a wedding, something, they're having like this get together for a wedding or for a party, birthday party, and they have somebody at the gate. That person is preventing people from randomly just, entering the premises and joining the party that they are not invited for. Right. So that person, is your firewall. Now, we can choose to give that person a list of everybody who is invited. So if you come in, kindly let me know your name, Andy. Okay, Andy what? You say your full name. He looks through the list. He sees your name on there. maybe he will get some form of verification, so your ID or something to verify. Once that checks out, he will let you in. So that the role of a firewall is to screen and get traffic in and out. So if your name is not on the list, you are not going in. You can be the cousin of the bride or the groom, you are not going in. Right. Now, this person is not, because if he allows you in, he's going to lose his job. So he's not letting you in. Now, we can also, give him the list of everybody that we don't want to come into the party. Right. So now, if you give him that list, then it means people that we forgot that we don't want them to come into the party and we didn't put their name on that list. So that is the denial list. If you don't put their name on that denial list and they come through and their name is not on there, it means everybody whose name is not on that list can enter the party. Right. But if we give him the list that I was talking about first is the allowed list. So the allowed list is everybody that we are going to allow into the party. So with this type of firewall, this person standing there who is our firewall now, we have turned him into a type of firewall that we have to give him the instructions for him to follow, word for word. He can't go outside that. He can't think and take his own decisions. He can only, think and take decisions with the list we've given him. So it can be the allow list or the deny list. Now, on the other hand, we can have another firewall on there. Now, this type of firewall, it will see the traffic, analyze the traffic, probably look at, the people coming into the party, how you are dressed, some type of look, and based on that, make a decision that, okay, you are not going in, I'll allow that person in and not that person. And even for that type of firewall, it's not doing that in a vacuum. We've trained it or we've given it some samples to, okay, if you see somebody wearing flip-flops, they are not coming in. They are wearing tank shirts, they are not coming in. They are wearing shorts, they are not coming in. Right. So now he's based on all that information that he's gathered that we've given him, and that is some signatures that we are going to give him. Right. So he doesn't have a list. Now, what is the name for these two types of firewalls? The one with the list that goes by the list, the one without the list that takes decisions by themselves based on the baseline that we've given them. There are two names. One is stateful, one is stateless. Which one is stateful? Which one is stateless? Anybody remembers that from, this is networking 101.
Stateful firewalls track active connections. And stateless firewalls filter basically sold on individual packet information.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, this is the first time you are hearing about stateful, stateless firewalls. Okay, so if this is your first time, now this is the opportunity to learn, so dig more into it. Now, coming back to the question, right? And if this is sounding very new and weird to you, don't worry. You can catch up to this, up to this level of knowledge within maybe some 1 hour of researching and learning. And if you learn it well, then it's going to stick for the longest. Now, what they are looking for is, and the reason why I brought this up was to maybe make some corrections because people are overthinking this. Limit yourself to what really firewall is supposed to do. If you limit yourself to that, regulating traffic in and out, then you'll be able to speak to misconfiguration, when it comes to firewall. So a firewall that is allowing everybody in, a bouncer who is allowing everybody into the party is not an effective bouncer. Right. He's allowing everybody in is not an effective bouncer. A bouncer who is denying everybody access into the party obviously is not a bouncer that you want to have because that is bad for business. Right. Now, if the bouncer is allowing people who are not on the list, maybe one or two of them coming in, or somebody comes in and says, my name is John, they look through and they don't ask for the surname and they allow him in, then that is a that is also bad, right? Or if the list that we gave him is not comprehensive enough, is just John with no surname, Mike with no surname, then that is a misconfiguration on our part. So the instructions we are giving it is wrong, right? So when this question, you just limit yourself to what are the fundamentals that the firewall is supposed to, like what the firewall is supposed to do, right? And that is how you go about answering this. Now you should answer it in the situation, task, action, results. So you come up with a situation, right? Maybe in your experience during some hands-on that you were doing, or even on the job, or your experience, wherever you got your experience from, that is up to you. But there was a situation where in your company, let's say in your company, one of your firewalls was denying all traffic, right? And you realize that you were not able to access some website, from your internal network. So you had to look into it. Come to find out now, deny all traffic is a strategy that we use, and it's a good strategy, but we have to explicitly allow some type of traffic, right? So good traffic that we identify by IP address, port numbers, protocols, and we have to allow them. So that will be on our allow list. So a firewall with no allow list, everything is denied, that is a misconfiguration, right? Now, if we are allowing traffic on now we also go into some cybersecurity, some networking basics. If you're allowing traffic on weak or unsecured protocols like FTP, Telnet, HTTP, that is also a misconfiguration, right? Unless there is a business justification for it, or internally within the company, we are allowing that purposely. We are purposely allowing that, and even if we are doing that, then it means we have to have some compensating controls in place to ensure that attackers wouldn't be able to take advantage of that vulnerability, because that is a vulnerability, right? So, and if we identify the situation as maybe we're allowing telnet, traffic onto our network, then what was the tax? The tax was supposed to go through. You were taxed to go through and make sure you identify similar misconfigurations, and then the action that you took was what? You came up with a list of all these misconfigurations in terms of protocols and ports that were not secured. And then what did you do about it? So you probably work with the network engineers, and they, closed all those ports, and you came back, probably did some risk scan, and then eventually we identified that all those were closed. So you saved the day, right? So that was the results. Now, and you can also quantify the results that helped you to pass your audit or assessment one time, whatever percentage of, time that you could have wasted, that was a gain for your company. You can speak to that also as well, right? So that is how you go about it. Now, how we are breaking this down is for how you are going to approach it, or how you should approach it, right? So the next one, how do you validate that a firewall rule change aligns with internal policies and standards? Now, what are they looking for here also as well? Firewall rule change. What is a firewall rule change? Or what is a firewall rule? I think I should have asked that earlier. What is a firewall rule? Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, rather, in your location. The first question you asked that you were addressing, I don't know if we've completely finished that way. Say, how do we identify a securely configured firewall? I don't know if we have addressed that completely.
How do you identify a misconfigured? It's not a securely configured.
Yes, a misconfigured firewall. I wanted to speak to that a little bit before we got to this point. And the other question you asked in this previous one, I wanted to address the previous one. I don't know if I can speak to that too.
Yes, go ahead. You can address both.
Okay. I don't know if that was answered, because I want to be sure if what I think I'm thinking is the right one. That's what I want to speak to, so that yeah. So identify a non-configured firewall is a firewall who is found not obeying the policies with which the firewall was configured. And before a firewall is configured, there should be a policy which is used as a benchmark to configure the purpose with which the firewall is to be set up and the location of the firewall, and putting it into real life scenario, looking at it from every one of us who travels through the airport. There are some criteria. If you must travel, you must have a passport, your ticket, and the amount of load you're going to take with you. So you going through those processes, it's like you going through the first inbound of firewall. And as soon as your credential authenticates you as someone who is traveling, then you are allowed into the airport. Then while you are in, there are still other security protocols you have to go through, which is now going to the new generation firewall level in my own thinking. Do a deep packet inspection on the traffic that is going through to authenticate that you are not just qualified to travel, you don't also have things that are not authorized to go. That's why they have to scrutinize you in details to ensure that you are qualified and also you are not a security risk to the process of traveling. Those are the levels of firewall, the non-generation and the generational firewall in my own real life explanation. I don't know if that spoke to it the way you expected it.
Yeah, I think that was called at least cool 85. So together, this is just you talking about the misconfiguration, right? Or looking at like firewall in general. So for the misconfiguration, like you rightly said, we are specifically looking at how traffic is coming in and out. If and let's go back a little bit. So I said one of the two main things that everybody should have in their toolbox is when we're looking at the cyber news, right? When CISA and NIST are pushing for companies to take their inventory more seriously. The very first thing in cybersecurity is governance. If you are setting up your cybersecurity environment, first thing is governance. And this is the reason why. Because how are you going to configure your firewalls if there are no policies speaking to that? The policies should speak to exactly why and how you are setting the firewall up, right? They should be set up this way. So the policy, the standards, and the best practices that you have in your company should speak to how the firewall should be configured. So any firewall that is configured outside the stated with outside the standards within the organization, that is a misconfigured firewall, right? So the example that I was given, you can have a firewall that allows Telnet to, bring traffic in. That might not be necessarily a misconfiguration if the company has in its policy that they will allow Telnet or use Telnet for specific, maybe for system admin to get onto their network, and they have other things in place to help protect that type of traffic, right? That is not going to be a misconfiguration. But generally, as best practice in the industry, we don't use Telnet. So if you just see that, out of context, it is going to be a misconfiguration, right? So your misconfiguration has to be in context of what the organization, allows in their policies and their standards, right? So like Emmanuel rightly said, anything that is outside your policies and your standards are considered to be a misconfiguration, right? How you fix that, you bring it back to the standard. So whatever is said to be the standard in how to configure firewalls, if you are able to configure it to follow that, then you are good. You are good to go, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Now for policies, when it comes to firewalls, we have your virtual policy and your policy that we can print out, and that is going to be your governance policy. And then we have the firewall's own policy, right? That is a virtual policy. That is where the configuration is done. So if you are not very familiar with firewalls, what I encourage you to do is everybody has a firewall on their laptop, desktop, whatever, computer you are using. Play with that. Go into your firewall settings, go around, play around with it and see how it is set up. There's nothing really. It's pretty fun to work with it. Don't say I'm not technical. This is not really technical, right? This is just your networking basics and fundamentals. So now, how do you validate a firewall rule change aligns with internal policies and standards? I just spoke to that right now, right? So how do you validate? By making sure whatever is in your internal policies and standards, uh, the configuration standard that is set in there is exactly what the firewall has been configured to. So you are going to compare the firewall policy, right? The firewall policies, or the firewall policy that is the logical one that you are going to pull up in the firewall configuration setup, and compare that to the written policy. So if everything in the written policy matches what is in there, then so that is how one way that you are going to do the validation, right? Anybody else has any take on this, or how they were going to do this, or how they've done this in the past? Okay, so on that note, we are going to. I know this is a little bit technical, so people don't want to put themselves out there. George, please go ahead. You are muted if you're trying to speak, George. I'm not sure if that is from previous. All right, then we are going to move on.
Yeah,
Please go
Doc.
ahead.
I was as a PCI person, I was going to say like maybe doing a quarterly Palo Alto network next generation network audit. I identify a misconfigured rule allowing any traffic from the internet to critical servers. So I validated active threat via traffic logs and replaced any of those sources that enforce threats that the profiles, eliminating the exposure and reducing the attack surface by 20% while achieving my PCI compliance audit. That's what I will say.
Okay. I think like that is also good. Kamala, please go ahead.
Yes, I just wanna ask if firewall policy is a specific policy or general policy.
Firewall policy is a general policy, right? And if I think from you asking whether it is specific or for people who might not, maybe what Comlan is asking is firewall policy general to every company? Is every company supposed, as part of your cybersecurity list of policies, is a firewall a general one, or is one that is specific to just a company based on maybe what they do? So yes, it is general. Network policy is a general policy that everybody's supposed to have. Cryptographic policy, firewall policy, access control policy, because everybody is using that, in one shape or form, right? Now, the specific ones will be mostly specific ones are guided by your compliance obligations, your data privacy compliance obligations as well, right? And maybe your industry specific, and which is all kind of also regulated or guided by compliance, as well, right? So, but this is a general policy that every company is supposed to have. All right. So with that out of the way, what's your process for ensuring network segmentation aligns with compliance frameworks like NIST? Now, we didn't get the specific NIST framework, but at least we have ISO 20701, or any framework in general, right? Now, what are they looking to get at? Now, one, your understanding of what network segmentation is, and then also your understanding of how the different types, how frameworks work in general, And how do you really implement network segmentation based on a requirement from any of these frameworks, right? So it's kind of two things embedded in one. Now, what is a network segment? What is network segmentation, and why do we do it? Is it important? Is it required? And as we're going through this, for everyone who is not up to speed on networking, kindly do yourself a favor and school yourself more on networking, because these are basics and fundamentals, right? You cannot work in cybersecurity and run away from this. It is eventually going to catch up to you. And how are you even going to understand other parts of cybersecurity if you are running away from this, right? Mahmoud, please go ahead.
So with my little experience about this, I'm going to answer it from the aspect of the PCI. So network segmentation simply means isolating or breaking the network into different parts for different purposes. Taking, for example, with the cardholder data environment, you have to segment the network or the traffic into that aspect, and then there are parts where we segment the network into the corporate zone, the DMZ zone sometimes, and probably we segment a different network also for the general public who comes into probably they come in to we give them access to the internet or services, but on a general rule, we apply the strict allow list rule so that our cardholder data environment cannot be reached, making sure that we prevent a flat network and then we isolate our cardholder data systems from general IT system. This is just making sure the PCI DSS rule, the compliance is well followed. We can also relate that to NIST and also ISO 27001 because they also recommend. It's basically the same thing in SP, but I'm just trying to streamline it because PCI DSS specifically talks about cardholder data environment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck. So yes, your explanation and everything is on point, but I think for folks who are not very familiar with PCI, you kind of get them a bit confused because then they might be thinking this is a PCI thing, right? But I'm going to give Charles the opportunity. Charles, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity to share. So I'll go just easily on this one. First of all, I'll start to tell why we do the segmentation. Segmentation is good because it's like you dividing your entire network to subgroup. That way, if one group was attacked, you have the other group safe, and you can isolate one group and work on that group when everybody else are safe. And the process I would to do to make sure that it's aligned with NIST and ISO is to do the assessment using the questionnaire risk and check all the sub all the safeguards related to the segmentation for each framework. That's how I would do.
Thank you, Charles. George, please go ahead.
Yeah, Doc. In a layman's view, I would say network segmentation, it's just dividing your network into, let's say, smaller portions so that you can isolate some zones that contain threats, so that you can really control them. It's like when you build your house, you know where the bedroom is, that's where you sleep. You know your washrooms, you know the visitors' room, you know where your kids sleep, you know your living room. That's about it. You can't just enter someone's house and you can get access to anywhere that you want. That's how I will kind of explain it to non-technical people.
Yeah, thank you, George. And we have Sabontis. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I like to more or less sum it up.
Okay.
I look at it like you enhance your security for your network. I mean, a couple people already answered that part by saying, you isolate the issue when you enhance, when you segmentate, you isolate the issues. You also get improved performance because you have smaller segments, and that reduces congestion on the network for the flow, and you get better network. You get better control over the network. It gives administrators access to more to manage the flow of traffic effectively.
Yes. Thank you for that angle that you brought in also. Martin, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Edu. So talking about network segmentation, I will put it in different angles. Network segmentation, first of all, we'll talk about security aspects of the network segmentation. Sorry. Oh, shit. Okay. From a security perspective, here, network segmentation here reduces the attack surface in such a way if the attack has been carried out in one of the portion of the network, so the other portion should be safe from preventing attacker from escalation or lateral movement. And the other part of the network, the other advantage of network segmentation will be on the efficiency and the management, on the network management, because having your network being segmented, it will be easier for network engineers or network team to manage efficiently and um, and have also a streamline and for also for production purposes, avoiding congestion, bottlenecks, and efficiency and improve efficiency. Yeah, this is my
Okay.
contribution.
Okay, thank you. So our network segmentation, also going back to, and I'll have Angela go here shortly. Going back to cybersecurity architecture and design is one of the design architecture strategies that we use in the cybersecurity space. Now, not just cybersecurity, but in networking in general. But for cybersecurity, it's a technique and a strategy, right? Angela, please go, and then we'll wrap that side up.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. So it says, what's your process for ensuring network segmentation aligns with compliance frameworks like NIST? So I know with frameworks like NIST, compliance, the main thing we're trying to do is to protect data or our information, to make sure confidentiality, integrity, and availability are enforced or are secured from outside threats, and things like that. So some things that some of these framework requires us to do is to ensure that access to our data is limited so we can ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability are maintained. So to control access to your data, we segment our data into layers. If there is no need for the public to have access, then you want to have your private subnet or your data in that subnet so that it is protected from the public. And if the application needs to interact with the public, then you have it in a public layer or even the DMZ layer. So we use segmentation to ensure that our information are in the proper layer or segment or isolated from the public if there's no need for them to interact. Web applications will need interaction, so they'll be in the public. And then your data or information about your customers and all that will be at the back end. So you segment that in a private subnet where there's no interaction. And by so doing, you enforce access control. You also enforce least privilege so that, whoever comes in is just limited to the segment where they need to be to do their stuff. So I think on the fly, this is what comes to mind. Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent, Angela. Now, and just piggybacking on that and what I think Mr. Scott also spoke about. So I was asking about network segmentation, because if you don't understand network segmentation, then this whole question is you are just going to be BSing around it, right? Now, network segmentation, if we take the technical IT part of it out, we are practicing that in our houses and our apartments and the buildings that we live in, right? I don't think you're gonna live in a house where it's just one big space, just like a warehouse with no, sectors, just one big room where your kids are on this side, your restroom is here, your everything is just anybody can move from anywhere to anywhere, right? That is not a good strategy. So even for buildings that we are living in, there are different rooms, and even for our workplace, there are different offices. Even for places where we have like a just everybody can sit anywhere and work. We even have cubicles. If there are no straightly offices, there are cubicles, right? Your own space that you're working in. So it's just you. Nobody else can, even though we are in a big room. Why do we do those partitioning? Why do we have different rooms in our houses and in our apartments? The different rooms and the different houses, one, it helps us to maintain confidentiality and integrity, right? So, like George rightly said, you don't want somebody to come into your house and they can easily just go into your bedroom, or they go through your bedroom before going into the living room. We make those, we set those boundaries to enable us to manage and regulate what we do in our houses. The same thing and the same principles are what we are using in the IT space, right? So on your network, look at it like your house. You don't want your network to be what we call a flat network. So a flat network means your house, you have no rooms. It's just one big, room, one big room with everything. Can you imagine living in a house like that with, you know, even with just you and your family? Even that is not something that you want to do. So your kitchen is there, your living room is there, there's no partitioning, there's nothing. They are all together, right? And when somebody comes to visit you, just sitting at one, side of the room, he's able to see everything that you have in where you sleep, your bedroom, and right. We don't want that, and because it's not good for security, it's not good for confidentiality, it's not good for anything. So in the cybersecurity space, in the IT space, we do what we call network segmentation, and we are simply just putting partitioning, right? So creating rooms, if you want to look at it that way, creating rooms on our network, right, where each room is used for something. So if like what Angela was talking about, if we have some specific data and we don't want that to be available to the public, it's going to be in our internal network, and we will put in place firewalls. So mostly when we do this segmentation, firewalls and different network security controls systems helps us to do this, right? So in our house, it's just a partition, and we can do a partition and create a room. Also, the partition that we are using here on the network is your firewalls, your other network security controls systems or solutions that we use to do that, right? So if a network with no segmentation is called a flat network. So for a flat network, it means everybody can have access to everything. For a segmented network, uh, just like in your house, every room has a door and every door has a lock, right? So if you don't want me to go to your bedroom, you can lock it. So even if you're not there at home, I'll still wouldn't be able to get to your bedroom. I can only get to your bedroom if you want me to get to your bedroom. So you're going to give me the permission by either giving me the key or opening the door for me to go in there. Right. And you can, be there at home, have me go in there, watch what I'm doing, supervise me, get whatever I want to get, and get out of your room. Right. Or you can give me the key if you think you trust me that enough to have access in and out for whatever limited time of, a time frame. Right. So same thing in our network, we allow people into the rooms, which is the segments, based on need to know. So if they need to have access to that room to do their job, yes, we give them that access. If not, now how is that related to, or how do we, align that with NIST, any of the NIST frameworks? Because we just have NIST here, but we will just say NIST Cybersecurity Framework and ISO 20701. Now, NIST Cybersecurity Framework and ISO 20701, they don't explicitly say you should have network segmentation in place, but they imply it in most of the best practices that they are preaching. Right. So if you want to enforce access control, if you want to enforce principle of least privilege, if you want to enforce, and all these are general or some of the best practices that are outlined in these frameworks. You can't do all those without segmentation. You can't do that on a flat network, right? So how do you align network segmentation with these frameworks? By, stating some of the best practices in there that aligns with, or that network segmentation helps to enforce, right? So by ensuring that we have network segmentation in place, we are enforcing most of the best practices that are in these frameworks. So that is that simple. But if you don't understand network segmentation, then, you wouldn't be able to connect the dots here, right? So the next one, can you walk us through your methodology for pre and post change firewall policy reviews? Now, the question here is, how often should we conduct firewall policy reviews, right? And what are firewall policy reviews? Why should we do them in the first place? And I think the answer to this is very clear. But I'm still going to, at least two people can help us with this, and then we move on. We took a little bit time on this because this is a little bit more technical. The other ones are going to move a bit faster. So let's tackle this. What are firewall policy reviews? Why do we do them, or why should we do them? How often should we do firewall policy review? And then also an added on like 3 questions in one. When we say firewall policy reviews, are we talking about the policy or the logical policy that we can pull up in the firewall software, right? Is it the manual, the policy, written policy, or the policy that is the logical policy that we can pull up? Ian, please go ahead.
I believe policy review is essentially like the logical policy, as you said, the policy that allows and denies different IP addresses. And I believe that needs to be checked. I don't have the exact measurements. Honestly, I believe daily.
Okay. Daily will be too much work, and I don't think you want to do your policy review daily. But
Would
daily is
monthly
more
make more
secure.
sense?
Wait, but daily is more secure. Don't get me wrong. But the frequency is, people will be chasing you. If you're the system admin or you are calling the shot, people will be chasing you with the sticks and stones. I do it daily. I mean, people want to do less work. Angela, please go ahead. You're muted if you're trying to speak.
Yeah, I said I even lost track of the question. My bad. You were asking when we change firewall policy, if what that means.
So I was asking, I think Ian answered the poll. I was asking firewall policy reviews. What policies are we looking at? Is it the logical policy or the written policy? And I think Ian answered that. He said it's a logical policy. Now, how often should we do the policy reviews? And what exactly are we looking at when we do these policy reviews?
Okay. So the first one, the policy review, I think it can be both, because we know it's advisable to review our regular like company policies annually. So I think the company policy annually, and I would also say even the virtual ones, the policies as far as the actual policies of the firewall, we can do that also annually. I don't have any stance, but because policy review is recommended to do that annually, I would think because the threat landscape changes often and risks, there are new risks coming up here and there. You know, we're in a world where people, that's all they wake up to do, try to find ways to hack stuff, and then things change. So it will be a good practice to annually see what you have in place, you know, if it's still good, or if maybe there's any change to the assets you're protecting. Just do annual review to make sure that it's continuous monitoring to make sure you're in compliance. And if anything has changed, you change your policy to match the current threat landscape or the current situation of your assets. I don't know if that answers it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So I'll have good luck go. Good luck. Please go ahead.
Yes. So the very three quick things that I'll just look at here is it all depends on the framework we're using. I'm sorry for those who are not really aware of PCI, but I will just use that as an example since I started with that. I think they did recommend once 6 months, but what if there is a major outbreak? What do? You're going to wait for another 6 months before you work on it. So it can be during an incident response. That's when we look, there is a need for it. Or maybe after a major network changes, then we can say, okay, yeah, we need to have a review our firewall, rules, and including the documentation as well. So that's just all I have to chip in there.
Okay. Charles, please go ahead, and then we're going to move forward.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going just to add, so the methodology must first of all follow the company policy. If the company do not have the policy, we may follow the industry standard. And what we do those policy, the pre and post. So for the pre, we check our firewall rules, and when we do the change, we're gonna make sure we do the testing to see if change is working, something like that.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you. Now, Angela made a great point. Now, for the policies, Ian started with, he made us aware we are really referring to the logical policy here. Now, the written policy, all written policies, they have to be reviewed annually, like Angela rightly said. Now, so the firewall policy, which is the written policy part, will fall under that side. Now, the virtual policy, which is what we are looking at here. Reason why we have to review the virtual policy is that within the policies where we have the rule sets or your access control list, your allow list and deny list. And if we have to review this yearly and there was a misconfiguration or an issue, then we would have waited a year for attackers to be able to take advantage of that, right? And if we do it daily, it's way too much to do daily. We have so much to do in a day. So a good rule of thumb, mostly at least every 3 months is not bad. But it's going to be guided, like Charles also rightly said. Your company's written policy is going to dictate how often we are going to do this. But that is not going to, you are not just going to come up with any number that you want. So say every 2 years is when we're going to be doing this. Mostly what we have in our policies within the company is informed by best practices from, frameworks like ISO 27701, NIST, cybersecurity framework, and others like it. Right. So our policies are mostly guided or informed by best practices in other frameworks. Right. So we do this review. At least you should do this every 3 months. Now it says walk us through how you do your pre and post. So to prep for this, what do you do to do the post? What do you do? I think Matthew joined us and he went off a little bit. I'm not sure if Matthew is still okay. Yes, I think Matthew is here. Matthew, how did you answer this question? Oh, you're muted if you're trying to speak.
Please, can you ask me the question again, please? Sorry.
Oh, I was asking question 5, right?
Okay.
So we're discussing, like we went through the whole list and we're discussing question 5, and I was asking you, what was your take on this? Like when they asked you this question, how did you approach it?
Yeah, what's the question 5? I can't see the screen, but I can.
Okay, you can't see the screen. Okay. Can you walk us through your methodology for pre and post change policy, firewall policy reviews?
Oh, thank you so much. All right, so let me start from the pre-review, pre-change review. So the first thing you will do is that you will review the firewall changes request through ServiceNow or Jira. Then you will also check the business justifications and also validate the request against security policy and standard like NIST or also ISO 27101. Then you review the request, the requested roles, at least the least privilege or the proper segmentations, and also avoid unnecessary, exposure. Then assess the potential risk, such as opening sensitive ports or allowing broad IP range. Then collaborate also with application and security team just to clarify requirements and ensure alignment. Then make sure that at the end of the day, you document the review process and also provide approval or requested modification. Then for the post one, the way I answered it was that the audited or the implemented firewall rules, we need to actually, make sure that we confirm it, make sure it match the approved request. Then use tools like Palo Alto or Panorama, Panorama to or the Splunk, just to verify rules, deployment, and also monitoring traffic. Then I told them that I will also check for policy violations, misconfigurations, and also unintended access. Then I make sure that I also document my findings and also track remediations actions if issues were found. Then I will update the SharePoint dashboard and also compliance trackers for audit readiness. So I also told them that it will reduce policy exceptions by 35% during a firewall re-architecture project, and also improve compliance with internal and external standards. Then I also told them that it will enhance visibility and accountabilities through automated workflow and clear documentations. Then it will help the organization to pass multiple regulatory audits with no major findings related to firewall governance. So, yeah.
Okay. So let's go all the way back to where Matthew started. Now, what are some of the changes, possible firewall policy changes that you might encounter or that might come your way for you to even start with the pre and post change reviews, right? So some of the changes now, we go back to firewall rules or the ACL. Maybe probably they just told you, hey, we want to, on our firewall, we want to allow all traffic coming through telnet. Anybody knows the port for telnet? It's networking 101.
Yeah, 23.
Yes, 23. Right. So if they say allow traffic on port 23, that is what Matthew was talking about. So that is one of the changes. Maybe this is the change they want to make. Now you are not just going to allow it. One, is there a we have to ask? Is there for this is for the pre? Is there a business justification for it? Two, what are some of the best industry practices when it comes to 23 telnets or running telnets, right? So that is where you bounce it off industry frameworks like NIST, NIST Cybersecurity Framework, ISO 20701, and others. And if maybe these frameworks are telling you best practice, don't allow traffic on telnets onto your network, but our company wants to do that, then our company should have a business justification, right? And it should be in writing, mostly not just somebody telling you, yeah, do it. It should be in writing. So then we can go ahead and if industry is preaching against it and we want to use it, we still, because there's a business need, then you, as part of the pre, you also look at what are some of the compensating controls that we are going to put in place to make sure attackers are not taking advantage of weak telnets, right? And then you go ahead, you allow it together with, if it's going to be the network, whoever is in charge of networking, who is going to do the actual allow it, check, make sure it is good. And then for the post, you are going to do kind of a verification to make sure it is good. And then also check and make sure you guys wanted us to do this and it is actually done. You still want Telnet to be up and running, open. If it is yes, then also everything that Matthew said, I'm just summarizing it and also breaking it down even further, right? So thank you, Matthew, for that. So because the technical side was a bit, technical, it took us a little bit. Now we are going to do a part two of this. And for the part two, we will look at, so we have, for just to let everybody see, so for round two of the interview, we've done with round one of the interview. Round two, we are going to be looking at the GRC part of this. And this was done by the cybersecurity governance lead and the compliance officer. And these are some of the questions, right, that were asked. And we are going to discuss this even further. So this is a little bit non-technical, like then obviously networking is going to be technical, right? It's going to be more heavy on your networking basics and fundamentals. Now, this is a bit, smooth for most folks who just want to stay on GRC, even though you have to dig a little bit into the technical side as well. So this is what part of what we are going to be discussing next week as well. And then we will do round three after everything, all the programs that we are running. We will do round three, also looking at, stakeholder and workflow optimization. And that was the IT programs manager and collaboration lead. And these were some of the questions. We also take time and, dive more into this. And then we do round four, which was supposed to be the soft skills, but they also, brought in some technical aspect of this, right? So we are not rushing through this because we want to learn a lot from this. So we are about to wrap up and we will do a part two of this. And hopefully we are not taking too much time from Matthew. Hopefully Matthew will be able to join us next week also as well. But mostly like how we did the discussion tonight, you are going to give your take. Everybody will give their take and then Matthew will give his take as well because he's the one who won with this. So he's going to give us his winning answers. Now, before we wrap up for tonight, we encourage you to look into our AI governance specialist program. We've talked about this for all cybersecurity folks. and aspiring cybersecurity professionals, if you've gone through your training, you are done, we encourage you to look into this. This is the new addition to what you are doing in the cybersecurity space, especially in the GRC space. And then also for our cloud security, for all cybersecurity professionals, aspiring security professionals, this is also is not a nice to have anymore, it's a must have. For folks looking to break into the cybersecurity space, our cybersecurity entry level course is the place to be. This is what Matthew went through. And now Matthew is speaking, and so for folks, some people are thinking, no, Matthew had some really, at least 2 years background before he started this thing. But everything that Matthew is saying, began and started from here, right? And then also we have Good Luck was also speaking about PCI the whole time, and he knows a lot simply because he's gone through PCI from start to finish, all the way up to expert. So he can speak to all these. And like I said, PCI is arguably one of the most lucrative niches in the cybersecurity space, right? And then for our internship and workshop, if you are looking to work on some real world cybersecurity projects, get some hands-on and be able to speak well in interviews like Matthew was doing. Matthew went through the entry level and then the internship as well. So you are speaking to things you've done during interviews, and then on the job, you can't talk your way through. If you're able to talk your way through interviews and get the job, you can't talk your way, out of doing the job. You have to do it, and this is the program that is going to help you to do that, right? So we are going to hold on to round 2, 3, and 4 because it's going to be a bit lengthy, and we are wrapping up for tonight. And next week we'll do a part 2 of this and go through the remainder of the questions. We took a little bit time today because the technical part, the networking part is a bit heavy, right? So at least, hopefully, this was a good eye opener for folks who've gone through. Some are even working in the industry, and this was a bit way out there for them. So this is, and what we went through for those questions, they were basic networking, questions. So you need to polish up on your networking if you were kind of a little bit lost. But also for folks getting into the cybersecurity space, don't let that kind of throw you off. Everything that we are talking about, you'll be able to, speak to it even within the first 2 months of you completing the first portion of the entry level course, right? So even if you're a newbie, this is a new language, so it might sound a bit, funny to your ear. But once you get in and you put in the work and the effort, it is going to pay off. And Matthew is a very good example. Is our latest example that we are able to show and demonstrate to everybody, right? So if there are any questions, kindly bring it up. And then also we put in the chats contacts, and then also all the information that you need to be able to reach out. So for folks who are starting off, our cybersecurity for beginners course is a very good place to start. And if you have any questions, you can kindly use the information in the chat to reach out. So hopefully next week we will see everybody and go through the remainder of the questions. And I think we might probably even be able to send the questions out that way. Or maybe you're going to come in to prepared. I know some people are just going to feed it into ChatGPT and come up with all sort of answers. So we're just going to keep it to our chest. Next week, we tackle it as we go, right? So you give your honest opinion, right, on these questions and your first try and how you think about it. That way, we're able to help and shape you in terms of your understanding and everything like that. But if we give it to you kind of as homework, I know ChatGPT is going to be busy, right? Most people are not going to do the legwork. So, and there are a lot of shout outs on here. We wouldn't be able to go through all, but we will try. So, some greetings in there. We have Mr. Hamid from the UK, Prince said great, and George from Ghana, Nazri from, hopefully I got your name right, North Carolina. And we have Mr. Scott from San Diego, Christopher from Maryland, Chicago, Andy, and we have Martin from Ontario, Canada, Dominic, okay, from Dominica, okay, Sydney, Dr. Irene from Ghana, and Christiana from Colorado, Kelly from Pittsburgh, and California, Stella from California. Okay, Prince joining us from Atlanta, and some team lives in there. And then, Larry was answering some of the questions. A screenshot is needed for CISA certification. Okay, yes. How many screenshots? So each screenshot counts as one continuous educational point. So as many as they need is what you are going to take. Idrus from Canada, and we have, I think there were some other shout outs in there. Michael from Canada as well. Okay. And there's a lot of team lives in there, and some folks were answering some of the questions in there. Really appreciate everybody's input. And some team lives on YouTube as well. We have Idris, David, and Olatunde also on YouTube. They gave some shout outs in there. So I think that is about it. Wrapping up. Oh, we have our brother joining us from, I'm not sure. Kayode, right? Olua Kayode joining us from Lagos, Nigeria. Appreciate everybody's time. We're wrapping up for tonight. This is Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night. Next week, we are going to be on with the remainder of the questions. And like I said, we're not going to give it to everybody as work because ChatGPT is going to be busy. So we want you to come and answer it on your own merits, right? So appreciate everybody's time. Have a great and wonderful weekend. We are going to meet same time next week and get ready to answer some questions. And hopefully we are going to have Matthew on here to, bless us and give us his winning answers after our discussions. So have a great and wonderful weekend. We'll meet same time next week, everyone. Have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.